Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at the one thing you are definitely doing right now, but you probably can't explain it. You're listening to me, you're aware of the room you're in, you know that you are you. But if I asked you to point to the part of your body that is you, you'd probably point to your head.
Which makes sense. I mean, it feels like the command center.
Right.
Yeah.
But we have a stack of research here that suggests that command center might not be as in control as we think it is. We are talking about consciousness, and specifically the biological machinery that turns it on, turns it off, and occasionally splits it in half.
It's a massive topic. Essentially, we're looking at subjective awareness, the feeling of being alive. But you're right to start with that feeling of where it is, because for centuries, the smartest people on Earth were convinced the mind wasn't actually part of the body at all.
This is the ghost in the machine idea, right?
Exactly. It's called dualism. René Descartes was the big champion of this back in the 1600s. He argued that the mind was a non-material entity. It was separate.
Like a pilot.
The body is just a meat suit, and the soul or mind is piloting it. And honestly, it's a very intuitive way to feel.
It feels true. I feel like I'm looking out through my eyes like they're windows.
Yeah.
But the research we have today, it's a bit more brutal than that.
It is. Modern neuroscience has effectively flipped dualism on its head. The consensus now is that consciousness exists in the brain. It's the noise made by your neural connections firing. It's not separate.
So if you're happy or tired or hallucinating, that isn't your soul feeling a certain way.
No, it's just your hardware processing data in a specific state.
Which is terrifying because hardware breaks and hardware runs on power cycles.
And that is the fundamental conflict. We like to think we have free will. I'll stay up late or I'll focus on this. But your consciousness rides on a strict biological rhythm.
And if you fight that rhythm,
the machine starts to glitch.
Okay, so let's talk about that rhythm. We aren't just solar powered, but we are definitely tied to the planet's rotation.
Completely. We call them biological rhythms. Nature is full of them.
Right, like bird migration.
Bird migrations, hibernation, the fertility cycle, all of it. But the one that dictates whether you are conscious or not is the circadian rhythm.
And this isn't just a habit, right? It's not like I just learned to sleep at night.
No, it is hardwired. You actually have a master clock inside your skull.
Okay, but how does the body actually know what time it is? I mean, my liver doesn't have a wristwatch.
No, but the brain has a sniper. It's a tiny cluster of cells in the hypothalamus called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the SCN.
The SCN.
And it has one primary job. It hunts for light.
It hunts for light.
It monitors the signals coming from your optic nerves. It analyzes how bright it is and how long the light has been there. When the SCN senses the light fading, sunset, it sends a signal down the chain of command.
To the pineal gland.
Exactly. And that's when the chemical cocktail hits.
Melatonin.
The pineal gland floods the system with it. But it's not just a sleepy hormone. You should think of it as the chemical dimmer switch for your consciousness.
This is why I feel like garbage in the winter, isn't it?
It's a huge factor.
Yeah.
Seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, is basically your SCN getting confused by the lack of light signals. It throws the whole rhythm off.
And that's why those bright lights help.
Bright light therapy works because it tricks the SCN into thinking the sun is out, and it resets the clock.
And it's also why looking at my phone at midnight is a complete disaster for my sleep.
Oh, it's the worst.
I'm blasting blue light directly into the sensor that's supposed to be telling my brain to shut down.
You are effectively screaming, "It is noon,"
Yeah.
at a part of your brain that controls your ability to think.
So assuming we don't ruin it with iPhones, the sun goes down, melatonin spikes, and we drift off. Now, I always pictured sleep as just turning off the computer. But looking at these notes on sleep architecture, it's more like descending into a basement.
That's a great way to visualize it. It's a journey downwards, and we can track it on an EEG machine.
So let's take the listener down there with us. I'm in bed, I close my eyes, I'm relaxed. What's happening?
Your brain is emitting alpha waves. You're drowsy. Then you hit the edge, the onset.
Is this where the kick happens? That weird falling feeling?
Yes, that feeling of falling or your leg jerking. It's called a hypnic jerk. It's basically a system check, a mild hallucination as your brain hands over control to the automated systems.
Okay, so I twitch, I settle down, I'm out.
Now you enter stage 1. This is the kind of awake, kind of asleep zone. Your brain's producing theta waves. It's brief. If I whispered your name, you'd wake up and claim you weren't sleeping.
Right, I was just resting my eyes.
Exactly. But you can't stay there. You have to actually disconnect.
And that happens in stage 2.
Right. And this is where the brain essentially puts up a firewall. On the EEG, you see these massive, rapid spikes called sleep spindles. Think of them as noise-canceling headphones for your neurons. The brain is creating these bursts of activity to jam outside signals.
Like a car passing by or the wind?
Exactly, so you stay asleep.
So the firewall is up, now we go deep.
Now we go to the basement, stages 3 and 4. Slow wave sleep. Delta waves.
This is the coma sleep.
Effectively. If I try to wake you up here, you would be a zombie. You'd be confused, groggy.
Not a happy camper.
Not at all.
Yeah.
This is the repair shop. This is where your body releases growth hormones, fixes tissue, and scrubs the brain of toxins.
Yeah.
You need to be down here to survive.
So we go down to the basement, we get repaired, and then we come back up.
You cycle back up.
Wow.
4, 3, 2. But you don't wake up. You enter the most bizarre state of consciousness humans experience. Rapid eye movement. We call it paradoxical sleep.
Why paradoxical?
Because if I looked at your brain scan during REM, it looks exactly like you are wide awake. Your brain is on fire. It is processing just as hard as it is right now.
But I'm definitely not moving.
No. And that's the paradox. Internally, you are sprinting. Physically, you are paralyzed. Your brain stem actively blocks motor signals to your muscles.
Which sounds terrifying, being paralyzed while your brain is racing. But I guess it's a safety feature.
It's vital.
Mhm.
If that paralysis fails, you start acting out your dreams. And if you're dreaming about fighting off a ninja, you're going to punch the lamp.
Or your partner.
Or your partner, yes.
And this leads us perfectly into what happens when this machinery breaks. Because it's a complex system. You've got light sensors, chemical dimmers, firewalls, paralysis switches. It seems like there are a lot of places for this to go wrong.
And it goes wrong for millions of people. I mean, you have insomnia, obviously, which is the system refusing to initiate. But look at something like sleep apnea.
That's the snoring issue, right?
It's much worse than snoring. In sleep apnea, the person literally stops breathing. The airway collapses.
Oh.
The oxygen drops. The brain panics, wakes you up just enough to gasp for air, and then you drop back under.
So you're basically choking all night.
Hundreds of times.
Yeah.
You never get that deep, restorative delta sleep because your brain is constantly fighting for air.
Then you have the opposite problem, which is narcolepsy.
Narcolepsy is fascinating because it's a failure of the boundaries.
Yeah.
A person can be talking to you and suddenly just drop into sleep.
And they skip the descent.
They often plunge directly into REM sleep.
So the paralysis hits instantly.
Yes. It's called cataplexy. They might just collapse because their muscles unlock and boom, they are dreaming while their body is on the floor.
Wow. That distinction, where you are in the cycle, that actually clears up something that always confused me. Night terrors versus nightmares.
Oh, a big difference. Yeah.
A nightmare is just a bad dream, right? It happens in REM.
A nightmare happens in REM. It's a movie with a scary plot, but a night terror, that happens in stage 4, the deep basement.
So it's not a story.
It's not a story, it's a raw panic reaction.
This is usually kids, right?
Mostly boys,
Yeah.
ages 2 to 8.
Yeah.
They will wake up screaming, eyes wide, looking terrified. But if you try to comfort them, they don't know who you are. They are technically still asleep.
In that deep stage. And that's also where sleepwalking happens.
Exactly. Because remember, you aren't paralyzed in stage 4. You're only paralyzed in REM. So if your brain is active enough to move, but deep enough to be unconscious,
You get up and walk out the front door.
you do.
Okay, so the machine is running, the firewall is up, and we are paralyzed. Hopefully. Now we have to talk about the content. Dreams. Why on earth do we do this? Why do I need to hallucinate that I'm taking a test in my underwear?
It's the ultimate mystery, isn't it? We have 3 main theories, and they range from deeply meaningful to absolute garbage noise.
But the meaningful one has to be Freud.
Sigmund Freud,
Yeah.
the classic unconscious desire theory. He thought dreams were a roadway to the things we repress. He split it into manifest content. So the story, like the underwear test,
Right.
and latent content, which is the hidden meaning.
Which usually involves your mother.
With Freud, almost always, he thought it was about wish fulfillment. But modern science, it leans toward a much less romantic view.
The activation synthesis theory?
Right. This is the garbage noise theory. It says that during REM, your brain stem is firing off random electrical bursts, just static.
And the conscious part of your brain, the cortex, is trying to make sense of it all.
Exactly. The cortex is a narrative machine. It hates chaos. So it gets a random signal for running and a random signal for toaster, and it writes a script. I am running away from a giant toaster.
I feel like that explains about 90% of my dreams.
I think it explains a lot of them.
But there's a third option here that feels a bit more functional.
the information processing theory. This is the idea that dreams are just the brain filing away the day's events.
So it's like the night shift clerk sorting the memories.
That's a perfect analogy.
Which tracks with the data that we dream more when we're stressed or learning new things.
Precisely. The clerk has more paperwork to file.
Okay, so we have dreams where the brain creates a fake reality we have to live through. But there is another state of consciousness in the notes that is even weirder. A state where someone else dictates your reality.
Hypnosis.
I have to be honest, I've always been skeptical of this. It feels like a parlor trick. Or just peer pressure. You don't cluck like a chicken because you're in a trance. You do it because you don't want to ruin the show.
That is actually a valid scientific position. It's called role theory. The idea that the subject is just playing a social role. They want to believe, so they comply.
So it's fake.
Well, hold on. That's where the other side, state theory, comes in. They argue it is a distinct altered state, and they have some hard evidence that role theory can't explain, specifically regarding pain.
You mean like people getting surgery without anesthesia?
Yes. Dental work, even major surgeries, with no drugs, just hypnosis. It's very hard to role play not feeling a scalpel.
Okay, that's fair. You can't peer pressure someone into ignoring agony.
And this leads us to the most mind-bending theory in the stack, dissociation theory, proposed by Ernest Hilgard.
The hidden observer.
This is the concept that just blew my mind. Hilgard suggested that hypnosis splits our consciousness. So one part of you follows the suggestion you feel no pain, but another part of you splits off and just watches.
He proved this with the ice water experiment, right?
He did. He put hypnotized subjects' hands in freezing ice water. He told them they would feel no pain, and verbally, they reported zero pain. They sat there smiling.
So the block worked.
On the surface. But then, and this is the twist, Hilgard asked them to signal if any part of them felt pain, maybe by pressing a button or writing with their other hand.
While the person is smiling and saying, I'm fine.
Yes. And their other hand started signaling pain, frantically. The person is saying, out loud, I feel nothing. But a detached, hidden part of their own brain is screaming, this is freezing.
That is deeply unsettling. It suggests that consciousness isn't a single room, it's a house. And you can lock one part of yourself in the basement while the rest of the house throws a party.
It really challenges the definition of I, doesn't it? We think we are the single driver of the bus, but in reality, we can be split. We are at the mercy of the SCN detecting light. We are at the mercy of chemicals like melatonin.
At the mercy of the hidden observer. So let's wrap this up. We started by asking what consciousness is. We want to believe it's this magical, independent force that gives us free will and morality.
But the research paints a picture of a very fragile biological machine, one that can be altered by a pill, tricked by a blinking light, or split in half by a voice counting backwards from 10.
Which leaves us with a final thought to mull over tonight. If your consciousness, the thing that makes you you, is just a result of these gears turning, are you actually the captain of the ship? Or are you just the passenger watching the waves go by, convinced you're steering?
It's a humbling thought. Maybe we should just enjoy the ride.
Something to think about while you wait for those theta waves to kick in tonight.
See you next time.